Hear ye, and welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll. And tonight I am joined by my very good friends. First of all, we have Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy. And we also have Anthony Amato, who we like to call Shamato. Boys, we're back again to review The Rings of Power. Episode 4, called Eldest, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's hard to believe, dude. Halfway through the season already.
Yeah.
It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know, right? Once again, thank you, Amazon. But seriously, thank you, Amazon. It's nice to have this show. Still really enjoying it. Are you guys positive on this episode?
Yeah, I'd say yeah. I'd say I'm positive, yeah.
Okay, good. A lot of enthusiasm.
We'll break it down. There's a lot to it.
All right,
a lot of layers here.
A lot of layers. We will peel back those layers. Let me first say thank you to all of our listeners, everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening, and also follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod. If you want to help out the podcast, the best thing you can do, share this podcast with your friends. Any Lord of the Rings friends that you have, please share this podcast. That will help us out tremendously, okay? So please do that, and also leave us a review on Apple. That'd be great. Okay, maybe we should just do a little spoiler warning. Let the people know we're about to jump in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this episode was called Eldest. Episode number 4. Trying to think. You know, they jump all over the place themselves, so I'm trying to think what the first thing we saw was. Help me out here. What was the very beginning of this episode? Do you guys remember?
Crickets.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think didn't it
yeah,
start
I was
off?
looking for Theo, right? Wasn't it? In the woods?
I thought it was dealing with
Galadriel.
Was it Galadriel or was it with the Stranger?
This is the best.
Stranger
podcasting.
wasn't the first part, for sure.
This is the best podcasting I think we've ever done. This is this very moment.
I think, we'll go one storyline at a time.
I think
So
for this series, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I
to be
think you're
honest with
right.
you.
So let's talk about Galadriel and Elrond and the little squad that has left Linden.
Yeah, I think it was actually that. I think it was them in the woods.
Okay.
Okay. Well, they're leaving the town first. Like they have that really good
Yes.
dialogue in the town.
Maybe that was the first thing we saw.
And,
yeah, it definitely was. Now
okay.
I think about it.
she's kind of just like talking to him about.
They're feisty.
Yeah, they're very feisty.
They
And
are feisty.
His response to her was like the feistiest I've ever seen. He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, if you can't get on board, like you just need to not be a part of this crew. And she's like,
Yeah.
sorry, Commander.
When
What do you
he
need?
drops the when he's like I need an archer and two
swordsmen,
two
yeah.
swordsmen. Can you provide that? And then she goes on her little rant, and then he's like, well, if you can't do this, then you do me to the high king. Basically, he said the High King made me make you the first lieutenant. If that's not a position that is below you, then let me know. And then she's like, I can do that. And he's like, you can do what? And forces her to say it. It was a great it was him very it was a very good way of him, in a way putting her in her place while also, showing strength and not, backing down in that moment, but also not, pushing too far. I think he did a good job of that.
And this is the first time I really saw Elrond as like Hugo Weaving. His personality, I feel like it came out here, and just the way he his cadences and his just demeanor towards Galadriel. I was just like, okay, I see it now. Like it is him.
Yeah.
And it's funny that it came out like once the ring has made its appearance.
Yeah.
So,
and that just I think it's also because he's moving into new realms of his being. He's no longer just this political envoy who's kind of just going around. Kind of a little bit of a charmed life in a lot of ways. I think he's starting to actually participate in the world.
He's a politician, so
yeah, he is a politician, very much so. And I'm sure, as an elvish politician, you're even more polished than a normal politician in a lot of ways. You're even more suave. You're even more have that demeanor to you of just air of being higher than. So I think seeing him actually being a part of the world and seeing how these things work is, you're seeing the pieces that become the Elrond that we know as when he grows up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So they're they're traveling, and he mentions they got to go through this bridge. This will be their best way to get to Eregion. I think I said it right.
I think you got
Heck
100%.
yeah.
Dang, dude, that's good. I love it.
So and when they get to this bridge, dude, All right,
Destroyed.
So how does a bridge like that even get made? Because that drop was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern times now, I'm always fascinated when bridges
I mean, you
get
can't-
made.
I don't-
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Um,
incredible.
I have no
Maybe
idea.
some sort of magic. You know, like-
Honestly, maybe.
I mean, legitimately, like, you know, if you're gonna have magic in that universe, why not use it in a situation such as that? Like,
Yeah.
maybe there was,
Yeah.
you know, something there that made it easier to where, like, maybe
Sheer
somebody can-
willpower, maybe. I don't
Yep.
know. Yeah.
you know, they can move pieces, you know, easier through magic or things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
So the bridge is destroyed. They're trying to figure out which way to go. And she can sense through the ring the power of the ring.
Yes.
Yes.
That we should not go south.
Yes.
Elrond knows that we need to go
North
they need
or
to get there
south?
as-
Go around.
Well, they got to go quicker rather than
Right. Correct.
You know, so
and North was going to add 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Significant. Very
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah. Significant difference.
So,
I mean,
there-
you really should have just known that south is always bad. Like, anywhere you go south of the city, always bad.
And this place was bad because they go
Yes.
south, even though Galadriel knew this was not a good idea.
Yeah.
And of course, it's nighttime. It's spooky.
I do love the confrontation here because she says, like she gives her argument on why they shouldn't go south, and then he's like, "We're gonna go south, and then if you can't deal with that, then you can go back." And she's
Yeah.
like, "I'm not going back because I don't want to see you guys get killed."
Yeah.
like she was so confident
Yeah.
that the power she was wielding with the ring could help them that little advantage.
Yeah.
and I thought that was a great line.
Yes.
She played that out fully. That was
Yes. Yeah. So, well, they show up on this trap, I guess you will.
great. Which she said, "We're going into a trap." Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to say, like, okay, so they find the elves that were killed that had the message.
Yes.
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 And last week we talked about that. Like, was that Sauron? And I'm actually going to say, because we saw one of the elves' bodies last week get pulled away by those same chains that
Yeah.
they use today. So it might have been Sauron's plan, but now we know it was these mummy
Yeah.
ghosts.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I think they kind of like
kings.
pointed at the fact that Sauron essentially like
Awakened
riled up
them.
this
Yeah.
area,
Right,
essentially.
Right. Yeah.
So it may not directly by his hand, but he
Yes.
was, you know,
Directly,
Yes.
like the catalyst.
he was pulling the strings.
All
yes.
a part of pulling the chains. All a part of the plan.
Yeah.
All a part of the plan. So yeah, spooky stuff. They lose at least one elf right at the beginning.
Yes.
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 And then they figured out you got to use a sword.
That they were
Killed
Yes.
with?
killed
Yeah.
with or wielded or
I think just this,
possessed.
I feel like it was just their weapons.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you couldn't use your own weapons. It had to be a weapon that was like a part of their unit.
Let's shout out the CGI here because these things looked incredible.
Yeah,
I really
they
thought,
looked awesome.
I thought visually they were stunning, and I mean, from the woods surrounding them with the fog, and then like the CGI of these like creatures that are ghosts, but like their bodies reform and the
Yeah.
blood, and like then they got chopped in half. Their bodies like reconfigured. Like it was very impressive.
Yeah.
I was kudos to Amazon for taking their time and really putting out a quality product.
Yeah, we'll say like pretty much everything they've done on the CGI realm has been like
Spot
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're epic fight.
Yeah.
They figure it out. They end up like killing them, but they lose one, right? Like one dies.
did lose one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it was the archer.
Right from the start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
And-
well, I think they get
One of the archers.
yeah,
I think
the very
they're all
beginning.
technically trained as archers, but like some of them are better with
I
swords.
I think two of them actually go down. I think one goes down the beginning of the fight, and one goes down towards the end of the fight. Because I believe Galadriel is trying to save one as she's being pulled in, and she basically loses it and almost gets pulled in herself, and that's when Elrond saves her.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, so they're kind of like taking a break, recuperating, right? And then
Right.
like they come across orcs, right?
Yes.
Well,
An
and-
army of orcs.
Yeah, and they found out that the orcs were marching
Yes.
into Eregion, and even Elrond was like, you know, we were coming to find Sauron, but instead we find Adar.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like, are they working together, or are they about to attack
And him being like the mind, the strategist, right? Like the guy who like is always thinking ahead of everything. He's trying to wrap his head around this. He's like, why would they be working together? Like, what's the gain here? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because I think the last thing he recalled was like Adar like turned on him, right? Like from the memory we saw, the flashback in episode 1. I mean, I get that's common knowledge. I don't know.
That Adar turned on Sauron.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Is that
okay,
common knowledge?
so they it probably has to do with the way that they the talk that Galadriel had him when she had Adar. When she was interrogating him, and essentially Adar, I think, convinced the Elvish community that he was, not really on Sauron's side. He wasn't Sauron, first of all.
Yeah.
But then second of all, that they felt that Sauron was a traitor, to their people.
Yeah. Yeah, and that actually raises an interesting point. Like, so okay, hold on. Galadriel tells them to go on. She like sacrifices herself, not to save them. Elrond said, to save the ring.
Yes, that was pretty.
That was a cool moment.
Yeah, I feel like because at that moment, I think as
Lord
an
of the
audience, you are very much like thinking, "Oh, this is going to be the moment where it pushes back." Because up until this point, Elrond has been doing everything contrary to what Galadriel wants, like to the point of literally, she says go north, we go south,
right?
Like legitimately, and it would have been very easy for this moment to be like, "Oh, you were right the whole time, Galadriel. This is the best thing that's ever happened to the elves." But it's kind of showing that he needs a little more push before he really starts to believe that everything is above board, or that anything is above board.
Even though he saw the ring heal somebody.
Correct.
Yes,
That's right.
He did see somebody heal somebody. But I think once again it comes down to like, for him, it's not necessarily the power that the ring can wield. It's what the ring can wield over the ring bearer. I think that is everything that he's dealing with. He's like, he understands that the ring can probably do amazing things, and he sees it do amazing things, and that's awesome. But it is also very much like, my big issue is, what can the ring do to the people who are wearing it?
Yeah, and knowing what we know about Galadriel so far from season 1, and so far and now in the 4th episode of season 2, do you think that she was trying to just protect the ring, or do you think that she was literally trying to protect them? Like, I feel like we are programmed to believe that it's the ring, right? Like, because of Lord of the Rings, right? Because of how it corrupts
what
man,
kind of power
right?
it has.
But I feel like the elves aren't supposed to be as easily corruptible.
Yes.
But I do realize that she understands the power and the capability of the ring.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like she truly was trying to protect them and stand because we've seen her do it before.
I mean, okay, so the biggest positive I will say to the fact that she was trying to do more than just save the ring is the fact that very much so through time we've seen in Lord of the Rings that the one thing that the ring bearer will not do is give up the ring.
Yeah,
like
that's
to
true.
the point to where Frodo would have been very close to killing Sam if he had taken away. Like, there are multiple, he gets close, you see him, you see what happens to Bilbo when he has chances to get the ring back at moments. He gets that demonic face at the beginning, of the movie, and it has a very strong pull over the people. The idea of, what it does to people. So it shows that it hasn't gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Now, I could see it being like a little column A, little column B. She hasn't allowed it to take complete control over her, but maybe it's like, suggesting a little bit of things here,
Right.
So maybe there's some influence here, but not 100% influence.
Well, my thing is, Adar ends up getting her, and I'm wondering, like, what's about to happen with their interaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's clearly against Sauron. He's clearly against Sauron. He doesn't quite know that, Halbrand or whatever. Now it's
Anatar.
Anatar.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily know that that's Sauron, but both Galadriel and Adar can relate that they don't want Sauron.
Yeah.
So like, what's going to happen now that he's got her in his custody?
Yeah.
Are they going to talk about that? I mean, what do you guys think?
Interesting.
Yep.
I can tell you, I did not see a team up between them,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
I can see it now.
It's interesting because, like, if you were going to write in a character to be like the perfect segue between two species that are diametrically opposed in everything that they do, be it from, elves are so connected to light and orcs are so connected to dark, beauty versus ugly, to the point of, just hatred, like what they go
Right,
after.
yeah.
Adar kind of is that bridge because he is, he has that elven. He's the only one who looks really elvish anymore of any of the orcs. Like
Right.
in that word, he's like that in between. But it'll be interesting to see, like, can she get over how she feels about orcs?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be tough if her direction by being captured here is to try to, I don't know, reconcile or come to terms or like team up with. Like, I find that very hard for her character. What we've seen so far.
I would find it hard for her, and I would also find it very hard for anyone outside of her to understand where she's coming from if she were to try to be like, we should team up outside of that.
Yeah, right.
Even if she ends up being like, yeah, I'm cool with you, Adar. It's not going to be like Elrond or someone's going to be like, oh, yeah, you're with them? Oh, yeah. I'm cool with fighting beside the orcs to defeat this other person.
Right.
Like, that doesn't,
Now,
make sense to me.
She does have some pretty sick battle scenes here. Like, she does some really cool stuff on horseback, and she's really good with a sword and a bow. Like, she's doing some work with these orcs. Like, it's just her versus everyone. And it's pretty incredible. But
she's a beast, man.
Yeah, she ends up not being able to overpower them all, and so I think that's really how the scene ends, right? Like,
with Adar kind of pulling her off her horse.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about. I want to talk about our favorite character, Theo.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yay.
There you go.
The only good part about this is I was right.
Yes, I was gonna get ready to give you your flowers, dude. I'm gonna give them to you right now, dude. Congrats. Last week when you called it out, man, I was just like, no way, it's got to be the trolls. They wouldn't have showed the trolls. But as soon as I saw the trees appear, I was like, Shamato strikes again. Like, I was like, dang it. But yes, good job, man. Good job. I appreciate
Thank you.
But it was great to see trees again. Like, it was incredible. And just we didn't see that unfold until after like this drama build up, right? We saw Theo in this cage.
Yeah.
He like finally wakes up
with some wild men.
Yeah, with the very wild men that he had been,
correct.
Messing around with.
It's I forget what they call it, like the Fed one or something like that, like the one
the Fed one.
I don't know. They call them something like the clean one, the Fed one, or something like.
Oh, they're like derogatory term for Theo.
Yeah,
because he's from Aragon,
or
not? Is it Aragon? Or
no.
No.
He's from the Southlands.
Okay.
A city
Whatever city they're in.
Anyway, it was basically referring to him like he's well off. That was they were basically.
Oh, I
thought Paragon? Is that where he is?
I don't know. Hold on. I thought they were just saying, like, let's eat him. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, okay, they could have been saying.
they could have been doing that.
That could have been what they were getting at, but I'm pretty sure they were getting at him because they have to live like outside of the
they have to
like
scavenge
protected city, whereas he's from this supposed protected city where you can eat willingly. You don't have to you worry about where your next meal is coming from.
Huh. Well, that's kind of their choice, though, right?
I mean,
as the followers of Adar.
Yes.
I guess
it is, and I think also the fact that they purposely like went against humanity.
Yeah,
like they had that choice. It was, so it is that, but it's also. It just shows like a bit of hypocrisy on their part, but make better decisions.
Yeah. So and then it shows Arondir and Isildur and this new girl.
Yes.
Which time out?
Estrid, right?
Isildur and Arondir being like buddy cops here. Great plus for my mind. I'm loving this combo.
Yeah, they're dynamic.
I think they're probably thankful. They're like, thank God he's here. Thank God he's here.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
The only thing I don't like about it is how loving they are of Theo. both of them for seemingly no reason.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
I mean, Arendir, we know Arendir, but we don't know why Isildur. Like Isildur's like,
Yeah, you get why Arendir is like he's such a man of honor, you know, or an elf of honor.
Well, he literally says, "Oh, he's been through so much," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like building up Theo's character.
Don't.
like he's awful. Like he's such a bad character in my mind.
Right. Yeah.
And like seeing these, I don't know. It's all the worst part of the chosen one trope that is playing out on Theo's side. And Theo has none of the positives of a chosen one trope at the moment.
At the moment. Yeah.
But yeah, so like, gosh, I just had a crazy theory that went through my mind, and I really hope it doesn't play out.
Let's hear it.
My theory is gonna be that Theo, that Isildur isn't actually Isildur, that we know. That Isildur will die, and Theo will take the name of Isildur, and that will be the line.
Oh my god!
What the heck, dude?
No,
It could be it's the craziest thing ever, but like the possibility of that playing, like I don't know, like, and I know it doesn't really make sense because I believe Isildur is actually with the father.
You're an
I
extremist
believe.
right now. Like I don't know, man. You need to calm down.
it doesn't make sense, and I hope you're completely.
Oh, I hope
wrong.
I'm wrong too. But it was just something I threw out there, like because I'm just trying to make sense of why they would love the show loves Theo
him
so
up.
much.
Yeah, build him up.
You know?
There's
That's
a
true.
reason
There-
for it.
there's a
gotta be
reason.
for it. It's coming.
He's the Lord of Pellegrini or whatever that little town
Yeah,
is.
yeah. And we get a cool like quicksand like swamp monster type deal. I don't know what the heck that was.
Okay,
Like,
so-
the worm.
Yeah, okay. That thing,
Yeah.
which was supper, as Aaron
Yeah,
said.
yeah,
And they had a
yeah.
moment of laughing, which was,
Yeah.
I thought was
Yeah.
wholesome.
Yeah, it was.
you
It was
know?
wholesome. It was. You knew they were popping out of the belly. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I knew they
Yeah.
were popping out of the belly.
Well, yeah, you knew they weren't going to die there
Right.
again because we know Isildur, unless his theory is right, is protected from dying anywhere
Right.
in this.
Correct. Yeah.
But what is interesting, Estrid. So let's talk about Estrid real quick before, because
Yes.
ultimately she saves them.
She
but-
does.
but
yes.
let's
They do the classic fake out.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about her. So Arendir picks up on it quickly.
He does.
I mean, he is just so smart and wise, and,
Yeah.
and it's like he calls her out, and so we were talking like why she was trying to burn that off,
Right.
or
Yeah.
the mark of Adar or
Adar, yeah.
Adar. What's wrong with me? I was doing so good earlier too. And last week we were like, yeah, maybe she's having some regret, and the way she's been talking, and I think there's an element to that. They're making her very nuanced, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you guys think. Like, she didn't just come out and say to them when she was confronted by Arendir that she was regretful.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the part where I'm like, man, maybe she is kind of doing this whole secret agent thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It didn't help her when she pulled the sword on Isildur or later.
Yeah.
Like it didn't help her cause.
But it didn't. But even that was like she's not mad at
Necessity.
him.
Yeah,
she's like, they won't let me.
It's a you don't
It's a
want to be a
survival
prisoner.
thing.
Nobody wants to be a prisoner, right?
Right.
Like, that's kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like don't put the chains back on.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
And also Arendir kind of like pushed the whole, her potential regret thing. 'Cause she was like, because he was like, essentially, this is just what they do. Like this is what they do when they want to cover up that. Like he's
try to
seen this
burn it off,
before.
yeah.
They try to burn it off. So
exactly
it would
right.
be interesting to see like where her character ends up going.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, it does seem like she's very nuanced in the sense of just like how much, like maybe she doesn't even know at the moment how much she's in each, court at the moment.
Yeah. Because I don't really know, and we'll get more to her later. I want to talk. When her betrothed does show up later, we'll talk about all this.
yeah.
But let's talk about this quicksand mud, whatever that was.
They all this like worm caterpillar looking thing. Like I don't know. What
They
that
go
was.
down and like the camera pans to her, and then she like turns around and runs. And I thought, oh, she's bailing, No, but she grabs some big old stick or whatever, puts it down there,
Yeah.
and at first, you think the classic like they're gonna pull out, but I was like, how is she gonna pull them out?
No,
right?
no.
Like she's not gonna be strong enough to pull both of these guys out. Instead, this dragon serpent thing comes out, and I'm thinking she is screwed. Is this how they're gonna kill her off? But instead, Arendir just
sword right through the
Yep.
belly
Just
in front of her
classic.
face. Of
Yep.
course, of
Yep.
course, of course, it had to be
classic,
Right.
and supper. And the only thing I could think that would go better with that dragon dinner, I would have to say, you're having a long night trying to find Theo. You're fighting off dragon beasts. You're You're potentially going to find some wild men. I don't know, maybe some orcs. Who knows what you might find? The only thing that could help you out in those times would be a magic mind.
Ooh, yes.
Arendir, Ilsador, they could have used some magic mind, Justin.
Yeah, get some focus, man.
They needed it. Just like me today. Look, here's what happened. We record these things on Fridays, all right? I just want to tell you guys, had a nice lunch, and afterwards, I was tired. And you know what? On a Friday, it's like, you guys know that post-lunch lull?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
guys ever felt that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, so today I was like, gosh, I want to take a nap so bad. But, I had work to do. Can't just take a nap. Not that easy. I mean, sometimes you can get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Depending on your job situation.
Yeah.
But anyways, this afternoon, I took one of these right out of the fridge, grabbed one of these Magic Mind shots. Absolutely love it, man. And it helped me just so much get some focus, get some energy, and really be able to tackle the rest of my day.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the clean ingredients, man. Like the lion's mane, which I've talked about multiple times on this podcast. It's a mushroom ingredient, but like it really does. I feel like help my mental performance, man. Like you talk about that post lunch lull. I mean, I think it was yesterday. I took it right after I got done with lunch, and I was able to push through that, and I felt like I was zoned in, dialed in, and then the next thing I knew, it was the end of my shift, and I was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, the clean ingredients and the mental performance that I got from the one of the ingredients of like lion's mane, it really helped me get through that day, man. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Amazing. I mean, again, I think it's such a quality product, clean, gives you some good energy. It's a good alternative for other things with caffeine, whether it's coffee, energy drinks. Maybe it's before you're, going to go to the gym. Maybe it's before, you start your day. Maybe it's after lunch, just like I had today. Here's what you need to do. If you want to try out some Magic Mind, here's what you need to go. You need to go to magicmind.com/RoyalPod40. Okay, now when you're there, you're going to use the code RoyalPod40. And if you are one of the first 10 users to use the code RoyalPod40, you will get 40% off your subscription.
You just say 40%?
40%, Justin.
Ooh, holy smokes!
I'm not kidding you guys. 40% off. So all you got to do, magicmind.com/RoyalPod40. You will use that code RoyalPod40 if you're one of the first 10 people to use that code.
First 10. Keep that in mind.
Yep,
It's a race now,
yep.
fellas.
It's a race.
Ladies. Come on, let's
All
go.
right? So if you're listening, go ahead and pause this. Head over to magicmind.com/RoyalPod40. Use that code RoyalPod40, and you will get 40% off if you are one of the first 10 to use it. Check it out. Big shout out to our friends at Magic Mind. So anyways, they eat this dragon, I'm assuming. They clean up.
Yeah.
They take the they take the chains off of Estrid, and then she pulls the sword on Isildur. And then after that, what's his face? Arendir. Man, he is just so cool.
He is cool.
He like loads up the bow and arrow.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
About Arondir. He is so cool, but did his dialogue get like, I don't know. I feel like his dialogue is a little like subpar this season. I don't know. Like I feel like he's like very short, very quick. Like I don't know. I feel like he's like
Yeah, you know why?
Why
I'll
is
tell you why.
He doesn't have chemistry.
he's
I was gonna say he doesn't have time to talk, man. He's got man of
got
action.
stuff to do. He's got stuff to do. Okay, because
Gotta
I was a
get a
little
move
taken
on.
off. But yes, you're right. He does. He's cool with all the action.
Unless he's
scenes and
talking to
everything.
trees. Then
That's
his
true.
dialogue
That's
is
true.
amazing.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We're getting there. Build that up. Go ahead.
Well,
Draw his bowstring back.
so he's
Yeah.
like I don't think he's prepared. Well, he's prepared to shoot Estrid. He basically gave her a second chance, and he's wondering why she pulled the sword. But he's like, holding her in place. But then you could just sense that he sees something coming, and it's the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I don't know the full backstory, and they speak all poetically. Hast thou ever pulled axe to living wood or something like that?
Yeah.
dude. Honestly, I felt this, dude.
Yeah.
I felt this. Like when they were talking about genocide, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like the orcs came through, dismantled all the trees in the area. That so much so where like the fleeting breaths of the trees like called out to them.
Yeah.
and they came, and I think Winter Blossom, I think, is one of the trees' names. I
Believe so, yeah.
And they had to come and they thought that the wild man and them were like a
ones
part of
doing
it. And he's like, I don't want any part of that. I want like Arondir's like, sadly I have. And then like she tries to attack them.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but I do regret it. And like he goes on this whole spiel like, I promise that like as long as we are around, like we're never gonna let any harm come to the trees in this
Yeah.
area, that kind of thing. And you're right; it's very poetic, and the monologue that he gives, Arondir, is fantastic. You're right.
Oh, it's
but,
great.
But I feel like the dialogue that he's had with Isildur has been a little choppy at some points. But,
Okay, I haven't really felt that,
Yeah.
but I think we're gonna have plenty of time for that to get better because I'm sensing.
Yeah.
And so here's what happens: Theo is released, and the Wildmen, which we'll talk about the Wildmen in a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Theo's released. Really, they're all released as if they're the same, which was striking to me.
Right.
And that wasn't addressed, and I'm
Yeah.
unsettled by that.
It has a chance to be addressed still when they pick back
it's
up.
gotta
If
be
they pick back
addressed.
up right then and there, right?
Yeah.
Like, hold on a second. You guys were trying to kill these guys.
Yes.
No, not a day earlier, right? Like,
So that was freaking me out. But anyways, two things. You guys want to talk about Arondir and Theo first?
yeah, let's go there. Let's
Okay.
go there. Yeah, yeah.
So Arondir, thankfully, I think we're having this moment where at least, like, I'm just tired of Theo.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm also tired of is Arondir always having to save him. But now
Yeah.
it's looking like they're going to go in two different paths.
Yeah, it does.
Is that what you guys
I
took
mean,
from this?
it looks like
I mean,
Theo's
it'd be
gonna go
nice
with
if-
Isildur, right? That's what it looks like?
No,
Or-
Theo's going. I'm getting the sense that Arondir is going to go to something with Isildur.
Really?
And Theo's going to stay. Sounds like Theo's going to stay in the city.
Okay. I don't know. I think I missed that. I thought,
Yeah.
for some reason, I thought that.
So Arondir says he's got promises to keep. I don't know what promises those are.
Okay. I was kind of thinking like Arondir's promises were to protect the city, protect that, and then Theo was to go with Isildur and like explore and like I don't know. I could have got that wrong.
I think
Yeah. We'll see.
Someone's really wrong
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Someone's completely
the
wrong.
point
It's probably me.
the
to be
point
honest with you.
is
yeah.
they're not going to be together anymore. It looks like.
Yeah, own paths. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they're splitting
correct.
up. Okay.
Um,
Thank God.
I just
Yes.
think they're like,
Yeah.
I think their chemistry it's gone. Like everything that was that
Well,
the
Bronn
only
was-
reason they were
Bronn
stuck
was the
together-
glue. Bronn
yeah.
was the glue, and
And she was the only real reason why they were doing that. Theo doesn't really want anything to do with Arondir. Arondir wants to be a father figure to him,
but they embraced.
Although
They
I will
fully
say,
embraced.
thankfully, they had Theo show a little humility
Yeah.
here,
Yes,
which thank
yes.
God that happened.
I know. He would imagine he would have been like, ugh, like, how dare you like come find me? I
Yeah.
could have done it myself. That kind of
how
thing.
dare you hug me in public?
Oh my gosh.
So bad, dude.
I know.
So bad.
So let's talk then about Isildur and Estrid.
Interesting.
Estrid's sitting, she had just got knocked. I just think of
Yeah.
Dude, she got smacked against that rock.
Yeah, yeah.
She's still laying there. Like, and then her betrothed.
well, before he shows up,
okay.
they're having a moment.
Yeah, it's
Here it comes.
It is-
The
it is
kiss.
truthfully, it's like one of the most classic, like beginning, like first 30 minutes of a love story moment.
Yep. Yeah. They're
Right,
finally
yeah.
going to kiss.
And then,
You just hear her betrothed yell out, Estrid.
yeah, yeah,
And
the,
then
boy-
he
the
does
boyfriend
kiss
shows
her,
up.
right? He kisses her.
It looks like
against
he
the
kissed
rock.
her, yeah.
And Isildur's like, whoa, what just happened?
Oh.
And dude, when he walks away and he passes Arondir, I just look at Arondir and he's thinking, "Don't do it, bro. Been down there. It's not
Yeah.
worth your time."
Nope. Keep moving. Move along. Move along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but that's my point where it's like they didn't resolve the whole. Hey, all these wild men were like trying to kill us.
Yeah. Now they're not.
And now we're all like, what's about to happen in this
can
moment?
we assume that they are even because they rescued them?
There's
Like,
gonna be
is that-
peace.
Yeah, there's got to be peace. There's got to be some sort of olive branch because they got rescued.
I mean, the only thing I think of is
Guess
in this
so.
moment, there's only like two people who could actually fight. So like it's Arondir or Isildur.
Yeah.
That can actually fight, and Isildur is injured as well.
They've got weapons.
So like at that moment, it's kind of just like, just go. I think that was kind of like, go live your life. And maybe they were hoping for an unspoken, maybe rethink your decisions and second guess, raiding our villages and things like that if you have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sensing that the story with Estrid and Isildur is not complete. Are
It's
you
not
guys
over
agreeing?
Yet. I'm thinking it's not over yet.
Oh no! I mean, I don't know why you would build that character the way you have so
Just
far
throw it
and not
away
have
now,
it,
yeah.
Right.
be something.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. So,
Yeah.
Okay, well that's that storyline, and I think the only one left is everything with the stranger.
It is.
right?
Which
Okay.
can I
Yes.
just say? No dwarfs. Come on. What are we doing, guys?
I know, dude. We need the dwarves.
What are we doing?
No dwarfs,
Also-
no man, or no like of our like Numenor man.
No
Yes,
Numenor
that's
man?
right. Yeah. Which okay, yeah. I actually am very disappointed about the Numenor because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of like political drama, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah.
And
After that eagle showed up.
Exactly.
But also no dude, no Sauron at all. Nothing.
That's
Nope.
true. Good
Not an
point.
ounce.
Yeah.
Not that. Not a
Pretty
single moment of
interesting.
Celebrimbor.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But to the stranger, and I actually was intrigued by everything that went down
Okay,
here.
a
Yeah,
lot
very
goes
much
down.
so.
So
Yes.
from
I'm
the
glad
jump,
we're finishing here because this is a
this
lot.
this is what I'm most excited to talk about. So from the jump, he's looking for Nori and Poppy.
Yes.
Can't find them.
They flew away from the
Yes.
Instead, he finds. Yeah, they did.
The tornado.
You did that, bro. Instead, he finds a goat.
Yes. The
fo-
goat.
Yes.
Follows the goat up this mountain, this hill, and runs into a mysterious character. Who could this be?
Yes.
Yes.
And he's chasing. And it's funny how he's chasing down the map, and it's getting blown away by the wind, and he gets swallowed up by
The tree.
the tree.
What,
What,
yeah.
what did he call it? What's the tree's name? Old man Ironwood, I think.
Is
Yeah.
that what it was?
I think it's something like
Well,
that.
it's interesting because that actually happens to Merry and Pippin in Fellowship. I don't remember if it actually shows up in the movie, but that
yeah.
basically that happens in the book for sure, where they get enveloped by a tree, and I don't think it happens in the movie because they get saved by Tom Bombadil as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Which the stranger or the person they run into, the stranger runs into, is Tom Bombadil. So
Tommy.
this is a very big wizard figure in the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
lore, which I am in no way
Is he like
educated
the first
enough.
wizard? He made it sound
That's
like
what he made
is.
it sound like. That's what he made it sound like.
I think he's making the case that he's the first anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like not first wizard, not first man, not first elf, not first dwarf, not first anything. He was essentially there at the creation of this,
Everything, yes.
of everything. Because he literally says, he talks about being there when it was dark, before there were stars. He literally talks about how like the stars had the audacity to kind of show up. Is what he's kind of talking about, is like, talking about how he was there when the stars first showed up.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Very interesting character so far.
Yes.
A lot of mystery and a lot of intrigue.
Yes.
ton of intrigue. He
Yeah.
takes him
Yeah.
in, and let's go. Let's just start with the stranger and Tom Bombadil.
Okay.
To
Yes.
start. Okay. He takes him in. It looks like he's going to be a mentor.
Yeah.
What'd you guys take from this whole like scene where he's like taking a bath and he's at his fire and he's listening to him? Like, what'd you guys take from all this?
Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously, the stranger's like, "What the heck's going on? Like,
Yeah.
where am I? Like, who is this guy? That kind of thing, right?" But he does hear him, and he hears a female voice, right? Like,
Yes.
I heard it too.
Yes.
We're not crazy. It's not crazy.
No. Most likely that's Goldenberry.
Which I think if you watch it with subtitles, it did say Goldenberry.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it with subtitles, but that's his. I'm not sure if it's technically his wife, but it's like his live-in partner.
Okay,
like
sure,
whatever,
sure.
like their relationship is. They're definitely like a thing.
Yeah. But they do have an interesting conversation while he's in the bath, and he kind of just like explains everything. Of,
Yeah.
Doesn't he he brings up like the Dark Wizard? I believe it during when he's in the bath, isn't
Yes.
it? While he's okay.
Yep.
I believe so. Yeah.
And how he wanted to learn about power, kind of similar to what
Yes.
you, but he took it and he now like rules Rune with dark powers,
Yes.
that kind of thing. And he kind of hinted at like, are you the one who's gonna wield it for light? Like he kind of like I don't know. I kind of felt like he was
yeah.
insinuating that this stranger here in front of him could potentially be the light. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. Is what I gathered from that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were getting at. Like just to give a little background about Tom Bombadil as a character in general.
Yeah.
He's this weird mix of this recluse, but when he does make contact with people who are good and have good intentions, he is an extremely welcoming host. Like his time spent with the hobbits, he's with the hobbits before they get to Rivendell in Fellowship.
Yeah.
And essentially he helps them get through a lot of the stuff that's happening in Middle Earth before they have to deal with everything else. And he's very welcoming. He takes good care of them, and he's this odd, like he's almost outside of the world in a way though, because he's also, although he technically lives in the world, he doesn't really get involved with anything that's happening. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't, like that's one of the reasons why I feel like Peter Jackson felt like he could cut the character is because although he's very much like he's an important part, like he's not going to leave where he lives to take care of something.
Yeah,
you know, like he's not going to go take care of,
He's just
Sauron.
there. Yeah.
But in his own in his own area, he is an extremely powerful being.
Yes.
And he's just he's very helpful, and he'll do a lot for you if you have the right intentions. And he's obviously like, and in this moment, he's almost kind of playing this like this mediator type character in the sense of like he's not necessarily like pro or con. He's just kind of there in a way. Like he's like the Dark Wizard and Sauron are the negative side or the con side, and he sees the stranger, as being this possibility of being the pro side of essentially life.
So yeah, I mean he's a cool, interesting character. You could tell. I think we find out that the stranger is very much wanting to learn from him. He's like, "Can you teach me to wield it?" And has that interesting line where he says, "A staff." What did he say? Like
a staff is much like a name.
Yeah. You know it when you have it. Or?
Yes.
It's not
given.
You don't take it. You
yes.
don't, yeah, something like that, right? It's not. You don't take your name or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's given.
Something along those lines. It's like essentially that the staff knew that you were unworthy. Like you tried to take it and knew you were unworthy.
And I like, he's like, he was just trying to take the branch. Like, well, did you ask?
Yes.
That was good. Dude.
Yeah,
that was good.
He's just trying to rip that.
I mean, the putting these two storylines together actually makes a lot of sense though, with the Ents and with Tom Bombadil, because they have such a connection with like nature and trees and like different how those things work. You know, so putting them together actually makes a lot of sense. And for people who don't know Tom Bombadil because you've only seen the movies,
right?
It makes a lot of sense to refresh you with the Ents in the other universe. Oh yeah, Ents, they are living, moving trees. And then you have later on in the very same episode, Tom Bombadil dealing with a tree which is very much so not essentially an inanimate object.
Yeah.
So like it kind of like validify it gives validity to the tree's autonomy as well, which makes it make a lot more sense when he says, well, did you ask? It actually makes sense because you're like, you just saw Ents talk, so like
right,
you're like,
so you're on board here.
So it's like, oh, it actually makes sense. Like, why wouldn't, like, if it was another living creature and you wanted something from it, you would ask.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And they hear horses, right? And then the assassins from Rune, which we see, we do get a flash at the Dark Wizard briefly again, where he is talking about he's like, what's going on with the Hobbit or the Harfoots and the stranger? He literally says, "Don't worry about the stranger. Go get the Harfoots." Right?
Yeah.
Like that was very interesting to me because that is a very key focal point in like why the Harfoots, right? Like what's the significance here? Why is he more worried about them than a stranger who potentially is a wizard? Like that kind of thing, right? I don't know. I just found that very interesting.
I mean, it's just one of those weird things in this universe where like you have this idea of the whole fact that Harfoots / hobbits are just more important and connected to the universe than anybody really wants to believe. So like it just feels like there's this weird like there's this almost like inflated value, it seems, when you're looking on the outside instead of from the inside. So you're just like, why would this species be so important? Why would this race be so important to the existence of Middle Earth? But it seems like just as they were so important to the Lord of the Rings original trilogy, they're
very pivotal.
Yeah,
very pivotal.
Yeah, very pivotal. That they'll be just as pivotal in this storyline as well, which would make sense for them, their run.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of go into Nori and Poppy, right? They're kind of
Yeah.
they find this guy, another Harfoot, but when they question him about being a Harfoot, he's
Called
like,
a
"What's the
s- a
Harfoot?"
store.
Yeah. And he's like interesting character, right? He's kind of goofy, kind of
Yeah.
He's zinging with
yeah.
Poppy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There was some definitely sparks flying. Like that's the definition of sparks flying right there.
Yes.
Was them their eye contact and everything. And so he brings him back to where he lives, and he says there's 4 rules you need to follow. He gives them 3 of interacting with their leader, right?
Right.
Only gives them 3. They walk in. Was that 3 or was that 4? And they're like, who knows? I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
Which is the most Hobbity thing to do.
Oh, yeah,
Like as I was listening, I was like, that's a Hobbit thing right there. Like the complete lack of like attention to detail is just like that's a Hobbit thing. Like they just because they're so like easygoing and flowy in a lot of ways that like compared to like other species.
Right.
So it's definitely something that they're kind of like is kind of built into their DNA.
Yeah, and there's a really interesting interaction here with Nori, Poppy, and the leader.
Yeah.
And Poppy gives a lot of sass. Nori is just trying to like plead her case, kind of, right? And they end up being like, take him away, like
Tied up.
Yeah,
They tied up Merrimack too.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man.
Gosh, what are they gonna do to him?
Yeah, the three of them are all off on the
Yeah.
side, and then she happens to mention Sadik, and that does spark some interest with the leader, and she brings them to this wall of their past people. It appears to be a descendant of Sadik, like Sadik's either father or grandfather or something like that. Was it Ramus or something like that? Like it started with an R.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And how he had a vision, and the vision she describes is the Shire, right? Like that's the vision, right? Am
Yeah, I
wrong?
believe so.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And so because of that, there's some I don't know, like pleasantries exchanged between them, and she's like, okay, well,
she's gonna defend him.
yeah, now you're a little more on my side now. And then the assassins show up. What did you guys think when the assassin shows up and just immediately backhands her?
Dude,
Like, what was your
and then
thoughts?
offers to help her up.
Oh, the hand.
Yeah.
Right? How long that hand lingered, right? When he first reaches out and she flinches and she's like,
It was
you're
weird.
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it?
Is this how they greet people? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
I
it
think
was,
it's just like this idea of they have no respect for these people in the way of
Yeah.
like we have complete power over these people. So it's like this moment of like almost arrogance to like, oh, this is just a natural response to these people. We have so much power over them. We just smack them around, get them back up, and then they do what we want them to. I think that's kind of what he was expecting.
Right.
Put them like if there's anything, put them in their place. They get up and then they do exactly what you want them to. In this moment, they don't really. So it's like it's this shift in the dynamic a little bit.
So the assassins leave, and he says, "Do you want to know why we wear these masks?" This was interesting.
Yeah, this was very interesting. Yeah.
And he's like, you offend the Dark Wizard or whatever, disobey the Dark Wizard, you'll find out. And yeah. So the Dark Wizard again,
Dude,
they have
literally mess around and find out. Like,
literally, they have portrayed the Dark Wizard as this massive, scary figure.
Yes.
He looks scary.
He is the fallen. Yeah, he's like the fallen wizard is what he is.
Yeah. And Tom Bombadil gives us some more backstory
Insight.
behind
Yeah.
him. How he was an Eastar as well. He learned from him, but ultimately he wanted evil.
power. Yeah.
Yes.
Power.
So we're left here, and I've got some thoughts. Okay,
Yeah.
because we don't really know who the Dark Wizard is.
Yeah. I think it's really leaning towards that. It's not Sauron.
Yeah.
Which means, here's my crazy prediction. I don't know if you guys have thought about it, but I'm kind of thinking that this stranger now isn't Gandalf, and it's Saruman.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it could be
Like the origin story of Saruman.
yeah. That's honestly.
and then Theo is Gandalf.
No, I'm not going that far.
Stop.
Way to
Shimano.
ruin my
Wow.
prediction.
Jeez, Shimano.
I don't know.
Can't bring this guy
what do you
anywhere.
think, man?
Honestly, I'm in the belief
A
that
big pump fake right there,
yes. So like one of the critiques of like the community of that's currently hating on this show
Yeah.
is Gandalf shouldn't be introduced right now. Gandalf is like he's too soon. He's
So
too
here's
soon.
what I'm saying.
So yes, I feel like he's not Gandalf, but I don't necessarily think he's Saruman. Like maybe. I kind of like
It would
it.
just be a fun wrinkle.
And oh yes, I love that word,
Yeah.
man. I love that word. Wrinkle, baby. Let's
Fun
go.
wrinkle.
Yep.
I mean, it would be an interesting idea if, like, it'd be a great representation of something that I have always been a proponent of, and like I would love to see a legitimate, like, you fall in love with a character, like, and they're building up a character, and then you don't know what's happening, and then they're the villain.
Yeah.
Before you know it. Like, I
Yeah.
love the possibility of something like that.
Yeah.
So, like, it would be really cool if, like, throughout this entire thing, and it's not till, like, the end of the series even, that it's just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
this is
a part of the.
You think they're going to say Gandalf, and then they say Sauron. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, and the show just
yeah,
ends.
like they just say like a whole bunch of different names, and then
that might be-
eventually, like the last scene of the whole entire series is like and someone's just like, one of the hobbits is just like, oh, well, what about Saruman? That name does catch my fancy.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Tyler, if that ends up being the case, that may be the biggest win.
Well,
in
I'll
your-
be
in
honest.
your
It's not totally for me. I
podcast.
was watching this episode with my mother-in-law, and I don't remember what she said. I really don't. But something made me think, like, as she was talking about Gandalf and Saruman, something made me think, like, oh, maybe he's Saruman. Because she was like, I think she said something like, he can't be Gandalf because, or no, I think she said, the Dark Wizard can't be Saruman because don't Gandalf and Saruman, didn't they have, like, a past friendship?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're starting it off as their, like,
Antagonistic.
antagonistic, it almost feels like that's probably not Saruman.
Correct, yeah.
Which maybe that, and then that's right, and then that's how I thought. Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe the stranger is actually Saruman. You know,
That's man, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
man, to
or
see if that-
like maybe we find out something like he has all his good intentions, and he, like, when he defeats the Dark Wizard, and he takes a staff
or something.
from him, and it all like
floods
trying
yeah.
to be good, but it's actually, been tainted.
Yeah,
And it's
Yeah.
not necessarily, maybe like they make it to where it's like he gets, he gets corrupted over time, and it's not an immediate thing, but it's a slow bleeding into him. Essentially, like what happens with the rings.
Yeah. So that's essentially like the last bit, right? Is there anything else I'm missing?
No, I think that's it.
It's
Seems about right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what speculation moving forward, right?
Okay.
I do feel like the next episode is going to be on the dwarfs and
Yeah, it's got to be dwarfs and Numenor.
the dwarfs and Numenor. I do feel like it is going to be them in the next episode. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
I mean, it has to be, right?
I mean, it could be Eric Eregion because
That's true.
we didn't
Yeah.
get them
No,
at
no.
all.
It could be them. Yeah. It could be those three storylines because
Yeah.
they paired with these three storylines, like
Yeah,
that kind
maybe
of thing.
so.
And then the following episode could be a conjoining of some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
maybe like Galadriel meets
Here's
up
my
with
thing. I don't
them,
think there's
like
any
that
point
kind
in
of-
speculating. These directors, whatever they do, whatever the heck they want. I
Right,
can't
no.
forecast what the heck they're going to talk
Yeah.
about.
Right, correct,
We might not
yeah.
get dwarves for 2 more episodes for all I know.
I really do think what they do, I do believe they have to consolidate these storylines a little bit, though.
yeah.
I feel like something's got to happen where like somebody's interacting a little more with somebody else, because they've already they've even started splitting storylines
Right.
even further, because it's like still the strangers, not
gosh,
with the
yeah.
hobbits now, and then they're
Harfoots.
the Harfoots, and then you also have Isildur splitting away from Arondir. We thought that was going to be kind of like a conjoining of storylines. It's actually more of a splitting of storylines potentially.
Very true.
In one way or another. However it ended up going. But it's, just they need to start consolidating storylines a little bit.
Yeah, which
you know?
it took them 6 or 7 episodes last season to start consolidating
Yeah.
storylines, and I hope they do it sooner this time so we
Yeah.
can focus on like a really big shift. Because think about it, like they sign on for potentially 5 seasons. Like they said,
Oh,
they have
really?
storylines for 5 seasons.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we need to get to the battle of like the last alliance. Like that's what we're trying to get to.
5 seasons?
Yeah, I mean,
Dude, if
it's-
they do that and it's every other year, that's at 10 years. Is that right?
yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about how much money they put down for this. So,
I
like,
mean, I'm cool with it.
They're not
billions,
messing
billions of
around.
dollars here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, we need to move these things along, and the only way to do that is to consolidate some of these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited what's coming next, man. I really am. So, on the next week, let's go, baby.
yep.
On to next week. All right. Well, speaking of next week, be sure to come back next week and check out our review of episode number 5. We'll be here to review episode number 5. I want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Share the podcast with your friends. Leave us a review, a comment, a like. And also check out our friends, Magic Mind, magicmind.com/RoyalPod40. All right. Check them out. Really big thanks to them.
First 10 users.
Wait, what'd you say?
First 10 users.
Oh, yeah, first 10 users get the 40% discount if you use that code. So, with all that in mind, for my good friends Sandy and Shamato, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.